Hi there, this is Praying Medic, and this is my news update for Friday, January 5th. As usual, gotta give you my North Korea update first. So last night, North Korea and South Korea agreed to high-level diplomatic talks that are going to commence Tuesday, January 9th, next week. And some people say this has nothing to do with Trump, that Trump is a horrible person. He shouldn't be tweeting out at, Rocket Man and his little tiny button and Trump's big fat button that is much more powerful. And Trump is acting unpresidential, right? Well, for what it's worth, Democratic Representative Joaquin Castro of Texas went on CNN and gave Trump a rare compliment. He said that he is giving credit to Trump administration for pressuring other countries to join the U.S. in pushing North Korea to halt its nuclear program through the use of economic sanctions. This is a Democrat representative from Texas who doesn't think very highly of the president, but had to tip his hat to Trump for his work with economic sanctions, getting the world to kind of get on board with that. So I think things are going in the right direction for North Korea. Yeah, the Trump effect is real. And I believe the storm is real. That's me. Dreams and visions. Am I having any dreams and visions about what? Hang on a sec. North Korea. You know what? I did have a dream about North Korea. I know that you have been praying for me to have dreams about North Korea. I did have a dream 2 or 3 nights ago about North Korea. I'm still praying for more revelation on that dream. So keep praying for me to have dreams about North Korea. Yep, Q is back. Saw that. I know that there are people. In fact, a friend of mine had a dream where she had a dream within a dream. And in the dream, she was telling me about a dream that she had where I was going to have dreams about North Korea. That is just like, I don't even know where to go with that. But keep praying for me to have dreams from God about North Korea, or whatever is on God's heart. Yeah, God speaks to me a lot through dreams. For those of you who don't know, I give you the news updates. I also give prophetic information through the dreams that I have. So moving on to China, a little bit of interesting news coming out of China. China is now offering to temporarily exempt foreign companies from paying taxes on their earnings in a bid to keep American businesses from taking their profits out of China and bringing them back to the U.S. as a result of tax reform. I caught that news story on the New York Times last night on their business page. So China is now a little worried. We had news yesterday that Apple is going to repatriate $200 billion. They're bringing it back from overseas and they're going to put it back into circulation here in the States at a low tax rate. Well, China is now realizing, oh gosh, we could lose a whole bunch of money. It could go back to the States. So China is now trying to change. It's a temporary thing where they're going to allow you to avoid paying taxes on it temporarily if you leave it there. So the tax reform thing is big. It's having an effect around the world. The UN is having an emergency security council meeting right now. And I was just on Twitter, I saw Nikki Haley made a statement in front of the UN. And this is what she's saying. And the Security Council meeting is to try to figure out what they're going to do about the Iranian protests. 22 people have died so far. 1,000 people have been arrested. So this is what Nikki Haley said, and this is consistent with what she and the president and the vice president have said. She said, in the end, the Iranian people will determine their own destiny. Let there be no doubt the U.S. stands unapologetically with those in Iran who seek freedom for themselves, prosperity for their families, and dignity for their nation. We will not be silent. So Nikki Haley is going to bat. And I really like the job that Nikki Haley is doing in the UN. She represents us well. A lot of people were skeptical of Nikki Haley when she got appointed as UN ambassador, but she has proved to be a gem. Switching to news in the U.S., the Department of Justice has announced And some people are couching this as a new investigation into the Clinton Foundation over pay for play. And it's not really a new investigation. They're reopening old investigations, particularly the one that was based out of the Little Rock, Arkansas FBI office there. So for those of you who are interested in seeing Hillary go to jail, there seems to be more interest from the Department of Justice in looking into old cases. Mississippi Representative Greg Harper, Republican, who is chairman of the House Administrative Committee, has announced he is not running for re-election in 2018. So we have one more Congress. He has not been in Congress very long either, but he has announced he's not running for re-election in 2018. The president is going to Camp David. He's actually there right now, I believe. He left the White House. There were a lot of reporters who wanted to ask him questions about Bannon, and he didn't answer any questions. Got an Air Force One, I think Marine One actually, and went to Camp David, where he is going to meet primarily with to discuss the legislative agenda for 2018. This is a meeting that was scheduled before Christmas. The main guests are Speaker Ryan, Leader McConnell, and their chief of staffs and their administrative staff. They're going there to discuss legislative issues, what they want to get accomplished for 2018. General Mattis is also there. Mike Pence is there. Mick Mulvaney is there. Homeland Security Secretary Nielsen is there. It is primarily legislative strategizing. That's what it's about. Some people are already wondering why Jeff Sessions wasn't invited. Well, Sessions is not, that has nothing to do with a legislative agenda. Sessions is all about the Department of Justice, FBI, prosecuting things. He is busy. And people are kind of suggesting, oh, Sessions isn't there because they're going to get rid of him because he's on Trump's bad side. No. This meeting was planned a long time ago. It has nothing to do with Jeff Sessions. It's all legislative agenda. And Sessions wouldn't have anything to say about that. So there's no reason for him to be there. This is a breaking news story, and it is an unconfirmed news story. And I'm not reporting this as a scoop. Ellen Nakashima, who is a national security reporter with the Washington Post, has an unconfirmed report that Admiral Rogers will be stepping down this spring from his role as head of National Security Agency, NSA. Now, like I said, I'm not reporting this as a scoop. It is unconfirmed. She is reporting that Rogers has told people inside the NSA that he is going to be stepping down this spring and that he expects Trump to appoint a successor who will be confirmed by the Senate as soon as possible. Before you get excited about saying that General Flynn may be the next head of NSA, it is very doubtful that General Flynn would make it through Senate confirmation. So again, this is unconfirmed. We don't know this to be true. It is Washington Post, and it is one person who is reporting. It is unconfirmed. So I would just keep your powder dry. I wouldn't get too excited about that, but there is speculation that Rogers may be stepping down. My next bit of news is, this is a big story, and it is being overlooked by the mainstream media. However, I am going to focus on this. So, Attorney General Jeff Sessions is launching a review of a docket practice that's been used by immigration judges to set aside cases indefinitely. And this is according to a senior Justice Department official who is reporting this to Fox News. The practice, which is known as administrative closure, has the effect of giving the subjects of those cases permission to remain inside the U.S. indefinitely, and they get to keep any benefits they've been given, such as work authorization. Sessions has certified one of these cases for his own personal review. This allows him to consider the factors of the case and, according to this official, render a decision that is binding on immigration courts and everyone across the federal government writ large, in quotes. Sessions could potentially end the practice of administrative closures if he decides to do that. The authority that he has is spelled out in the statute of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Senior DOJ officials note that the same authority has been used multiple times by previous attorneys general, including Holder, Lynch, McCasey, Gonzalez, and John Ashcroft. There are currently 350,000 immigration cases that are administratively closed. The Obama administration alone closed more than 180,000 pending immigration court cases without a final decision in just 4 years. That is more than were closed in the previous 22 years combined. Sessions has sent a letter to the parties of the case that he's reviewing and the Department of Homeland Security, and he's asking questions. Among the questions that Sessions is asking is whether the judges and decision makers have the authority under any statute or regulation or delegation of authority from the Attorney General to order the administrative closure of a case. Sessions also asks what actions should be taken regarding administrative closed cases if he were to determine that the judges and the appeals board do not have such authority. The Attorney General has given the parties until February 2nd to respond, and there are currently a backlog of 650,000 immigration cases, and a decision to end the administrative closure practice would greatly impact those cases. So, for those of you who think that Jeff Sessions is not busy, he is busy. This is a huge thing. If he makes a ruling that these judges don't have the right to administratively close these cases, it is going to have a huge impact. I have one more thing I would like to talk about, and this is a breaking news story, broke this morning, that Senate Judiciary Chairman Chuck Grassley and Ranking Member Lindsey Graham have made a recommendation to the Department of Justice that Christopher Steele, the author of the now famous Trump dossier, should be charged with criminal charges and prosecuted. And I'm going to Sundance's recent thread on that issue to give you a deeper analysis of that situation, because Sundance says this is not what it appears to be. All right. And one of the more recent dreams I had was about Sundance. And Sundance was pulling out some really excellent information on some stories in this dream. So I'm just going to follow Sundance's thread and explain to you the deeper unspoken things that Sundance believes are going on in this case. And I think Sundance is probably right. So Sundance starts a thread. To understand this breaking news, you have to understand it's not about Christopher Steele. It's not about the author of the dossier. So he has a letter pasted in here, which is the letter from Lindsey Graham and Chuck Grassley to the DOJ. And I'll just read it to you if you want me to. Attached, please find a classified memorandum related to certain communications between Christopher Steele and multiple U.S. news outlets regarding the so-called Trump dossier that Mr. Steele compiled on behalf of Fusion GPS for the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee, and also provided to the FBI. Based on the information contained therein, we are respectfully referring Mr. Steele to you for investigation of potential violations of 18 U.S.C. 1001. For statements the committee has reason to believe Mr. Steele made regarding his distribution of information contained in the dossier. Thank you for your prompt attention to this important matter. If you have any questions, please contact us, Chairman Grassley and Lindsey Graham. Okay, so seems kind of straightforward, but All right. Senators Graham and Grassley have reviewed the documents and interviewed members of the FBI. Pulling a quote from the New York Times article, Mr. Grassley's decision to recommend criminal charges appeared likely to be based on reports of Mr. Steele's meetings with the FBI, which were provided to the committee by the Justice Department in recent weeks. Quote number 2, it was not clear why, if a crime is apparent in the FBI reports, that they were reviewed by the Judiciary Committee, why did the Justice Department not move to charge Mr. Steele already? All right. Stay with me. We're getting there. Grassley and Graham are contrasting documents surrounding the Steele dossier against FBI statements made in combination about those documents. There is a discrepancy between the documents which were provided by the FBI that surround and outline Steele's talks with the FBI and the statements from the FBI officials who talked to Grassley and Graham. What Grassley and Graham are getting at is that the FBI statements attributing information to Christopher Steele is not consistent with the underlying evidence that has been provided. Either Steele is lying to the FBI or the representations that the FBI has made to Senator Graham and Grassley are false. Based on the documents and based on the evidence, someone is lying. Graham and Grassley believe they know who is lying, and it isn't Christopher Steele, who has no reason to lie in this case in front of the FBI. The fibbers are the ones who hold the motive to lie, and that would be the FBI officials who are trying to hide their 2016 use of the Steele dossier in their counterintelligence operation to get a FISA warrant. So instead of calling the FBI liars, Graham and Grassley are filing a criminal referral requesting the DOJ prosecute Christopher Steele as a liar. Graham and Grassley know that the end result of the DOJ following their request would be to discover it's actually the FBI that is not telling the truth. Because if Grassley and Lindsey Graham tell the DOJ, you should prosecute Christopher Steele because statements we've gotten from FBI agents do not jive with the statements that are written by Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele must be lying, unless the FBI is lying. So by telling the DOJ, prosecute Christopher Steele because he's lying, what they're really doing is they're telling the DOJ, look, you've got some crooked FBI agents, you need to find out why they're lying, and you need to bring them to justice. That is what Sundance thinks is really going on. And this would come back to Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe, and the inner circle of people that are involved in taking that Steele dossier, taking it to FISA court, getting a warrant to surveil the Trump team. The noose is closing, and this is just another way for Grassley, because Grassley knows that these FBI people have been lying to him forever. He has been all over their case, asking for information. They've stonewalled, they've slow-walked everything, they have lied to him. Grassley knows darn well the FBI is lying. So this, Sundance is saying, this is his way of forcing the DOJ to take action against the liars in the FBI. I think that is an insightful way to approach it. And that is all I have for today for the news. It's Friday. I'm going to let you out of class early. Know that God is on the throne, Trump is in the White House, and it is all good. Love you guys. Take care. I'll catch you on the next broadcast. This is Praying Medic, out.